Alright, we're going to try to make some more progress on this objective, which is to port the iframe Phoenix live view abilities into the Svelte side. So we've put into a context, in the spaces context, these three kind of functions, which is to create, primitive, modify a component on an entity, and delete an entity. Which are the basic functions that we can do on the Phoenix Live View side. So if we compare the two, jump over here, pull up the menu, I can highlight grid, come over here and I can highlight grid. This one shows all of them expanded, so just to sort of make it feature complete, these only expand when I click them. Oh, that one had a, I guess I must have introduced a bug there. Nope, something's crashing. Let's see what that is. Key type not found in that. Let's take a quick look. That would have called, should be select entity. Type not found in, oh, component change set. On line 112. Okay, there's no type in here. But it does have a selected component. Yes, I did change this. So what happened here? Component enters. Yes, I feel like if you just give an empty attribute, you should just return the component. No. You should return a change set. So here's looking for adders type. Component 33. So this can't happen if there's no... Okay, right. Because even if you convert it to an atom, let's say like this, and you try to get adders type, we'll do that. But can you do this? That is okay. Whoop, still not good. Data not found. Okay. Yes. Of course. It wants to put this into data. So if you don't have a data map, so only do this if you have data in there. So data, put this into attrs data if you have the data. Okay. Pull this out into a function. So to put type into data given some attrs where you have data. It's a map of something. And if that's the case, give me the type as well. So here, the type, well, we'll pass this in. Alright, so if there's a data map, then you'll put into attrs data type, which into the type, and then that's the data, and you put that into the new data, and you return the new attrs. And for the case where attrs is empty, put type into data, and you have a type, but attrs is just an empty map, then just return an empty map. Right, you're not trying to modify it. Then we can just say attrs equal put type into data, give me the type and give me the attrs. Although here it says that the data is required. So how can we get around that? How did this work before? Oops. Okay. Turn to Changeset, I guess. Alright, so if we highlight this, we're getting all of them. Cone. Yep, colors first. And if we highlight one of them, it has the benefit of knowing which entity you're trying to edit. So we can employ the same thing by not expanding them yet on the Svelte side. So component entity list, if current entity, do this, each current entity components as this. And if you click on it, then we can send in I think maybe it should be expanded inside the component. So if you go to the component, what you do is if expanded, then you do this thing. So but let's see, we also need to keep track of, it's the outside world that needs to know if which one gets the expansion. So you have to send the expansion in. So for every entity, this is an entity list. So we could break this out into a component. Oh, this is the entity list. You highlight that entity. So when you click, you highlight the entity which sets the current entity. Then you produce a list of components. And I guess we can do the same thing, on click, highlight component. So this can be highlight entity. Call this highlight entity. And if you click here, you can do on click. And we'll just highlight the component with component. Component, give me the component current component. Current component equal this. So if it's highlighted, then we can send that in here. Say active or highlighted equal if this component ID is equal to highlighted current component. Oh, shoot. Current component ID. I don't get the ID. It has to be the type. And then on the component side, we'll take the highlighted as a boolean. So export that highlighted and if highlighted, then show me the contents. Okay, I got nothing. Oh, okay. We still want to see the key part, each object. We just don't want to see all the forms. No, we got that up here. Have that up there, so something else. So let me remove the highlighted part. Some other JavaScript error also. Pull up the console. Cannot read properties of null reading type in entity list. Current component type. Okay. Yeah, it might be null the first time around. Highlighted. Let's move that into a function. Okay, it's still expanded. Yes, still expanded everything. So let's come back to this part. Throw back the ifs. If highlighted. Okay. On click of the component doesn't seem to be. It's an on click on this part. So why don't we send that function in? So we've got highlight component function and idiomatic JavaScript like. So let's just pass this in, where you'll just highlight self. So I can just pass the component in. How do we make this? We can pass the component in component and highlight component. Then on the component side, we'll take component, which has at least a type, which is a string, and a data, which is an any. And we'll take a function highlight component, which is a function that takes a component, which is this, and what returns void, yes. Alright, how do I give a type to TypeScript? It's not required. So this will be component type. This will be component type and component data. This is just console logging on change. Okay, go through every component data and give highlight it when you click on this part. So on click, call the highlight component. Highlight, it should be highlight component, passing in component. Still nothing. Let's see if we're getting the clicks. So highlight component, passing highlight component, and highlight component, so log highlight component. Okay, we're getting here. And what is the highlight component? JSON, stringify component. What are you getting? Okay, so we're getting color, position, okay, and current component equals component is highlighted. highlighted, it's called. I wonder if this is being reevaluated every time you select. It should be called a bunch of times, right? So it should be called like 3 or 4 times here. Yeah, it's called. And if I click on this, no, it's not called here. It's not reevaluated here. Okay, these things are called, when you render these components and, how do I get this to evaluate again? Now an attribute would have to use some kind of binding. That's it. You just have to use the equal sign. Dynamic property. So the way they did it is they put in a value here, whereas mine is a function. The function is not being evaluated. Oh wait, here. We can tell Svelte we want our total to-dos and completed to-dos variables to be reactive by prefixing them with $, colon. Where do you do that though? There's the whole code. Here, right in the script. There are values. But it was for everyone though. I'm beginning to think it might be just better if okay, what if you didn't call a function and you just said, you just said component or current component and current component dot type is equal to component type. That be evaluated every time. That works. But a function call doesn't work. Whenever data they depend on is changed, $sign. Svelte function. Call function. By default, functions are not reactive. Variables are reactive. Would it be possible to call functions and conditionals when the DOM is updated? So this call function is true. Calling this is true. And return a variable. So here they have marked, okay, variable is true. And they wrapped a call function is true, which returns the value of variable. And so is true will just return this variable, which is true. And make false changes variable to false. Make true. Okay, so if, okay, call function. If this is true, show this variable. If variable, show the variable. So the variable is true and the function is true. Set this to false. The function says it's false. Variable doesn't show anything. True. Okay, which is a demonstration that it is reactive. $sign call function. So can I just do $sign is highlighted? And then use that here under cut highlighted component. So will this get reevaluated? That looks like it works. Okay, so you got to do that. All right, so we're kind of up to the place where we're mimicking this behavior here. Oh, okay, anytime you click away, okay, I think it's broken now. Right? Ah, click these things. Why can't I click this? Huh? Oh wait, it is working. It's just that it kept its highlight. Okay, so if you click away and the entity, if you highlight an entity, then the current component should be null. Between these things, have a highlighted position and click on box. Good. Okay. Now on this side, if we make a change to something, let's say we move the cone. We click on color or position, make a change, and the change take will autosave. I wasn't really too big a fan of the autosave. Let's try that. So if we do this, we make a change, we should see something being output. I do this, and I change the focus. Okay, we have this. So what happens when we, okay, so we have the position and we have the data, and we probably have the entity ID. Now we need the entity ID in here in order to make a call. So on change, it's doing this. We need the entity ID passed to us. In fact, if you give us the whole entity, we can save that component right in there. Give us the whole entity. Yeah, give us the entity. Give us the entity, component. Where's the component? Give us the current entity. Whoops. Alright, so we'll have the entity, then on change, we can pass the entity. The entity ID position in that. That should be enough to call. We still need the space, but we have that in the space controller. So space controller could call, give it a space, so spaces equals repo all space equal list stuff first spaces, and we could call spaces dot modify component with a broadcast. Takes a space, oops, it takes a space, the entity ID, type, and the data. This data would have been converted into x1, y2. Oh, well, the string is on the, oh, anyway, I just want to see what happens. It's on 0. Okay, it seemed to have cast it correctly. Just cast it 1, 2, 0. Let's make it a little higher. Make the 5. Yep, that works. Okay, so in the next video, I will tie these, well, let's just keep going a little bit more. So, what do we have in order to communicate? So on app, we have signal hub. Could use this. Could also pass in the channel. Okay, let me think about this. We'll continue this in the next video.